Windsor Essex, the new name. So I'm the roll call on members, members of council. I think I'm waiting for actually Andrew. Oh, there he is. Yeah, I see him. He's connecting now.
Councillor Altenhoff.
Oh yeah, Councillor Altenhoff. Yeah. Well, he can. They can catch up as we move forward, and so I'll call the meeting certainly to order. Is there any pecuniary interest on the item that's to be presented this evening on this evening's agenda? Okay, none identified, so that we'll have that certainly duly noted. We have a delegations this evening. We have Mr. Stephen McKenzie, the president and CEO, and Joe Concalves. I always have a problem with that one.
That's close enough, Gonsalves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody's corrected me over the period of time, Joe, so I'm just going to go Joe. Director of Investment and Corporate Marketing with Invest Windsor Essex, and we're talking about e-mobility strategy. So with that, Mr. McKenzie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you this evening. Couple things. I guess my first question is it Sean, are you running the presentation or? Okay, screen sharing. Thank you. So I'll just I'll mention to when to move it. Thank you very much. A couple of things. We're going to talk tonight about the weekend green strategy we have for Windsor Essex. But I just certainly remind folks at the very beginning that we still have very active programs to support entrepreneurship, to support companies in the industries, and to attract industries across our industry sectors. That includes agri-food and greenhouse. That includes transportation, logistics, pharmaceutical, fintech. And so but tonight it's more related to that transition from automotive and mobility. So although we're going to focus in on one part of our strategy to tell you about it this evening, certainly we still have a full range of industries that we're working hard in. So and the second thing is that today we've got, I think it's just 16 slides, but we've got a couple of hundred other ones. I think if anybody wants more information anywhere along the way, we've tried to pull out the key slides and the key summary. But what this is based on, we had contracted with one of the top consultancies actually globally, a group out of Germany, international group called P3 Group. And we said, look, there's the market's evolving, technology's evolving. We are currently an automotive center, an automotive capital. We have been since 1904 when Henry Ford came across the river. We want to make sure that we do what we need to do for forward thinking with the changes in technology. And they did an analysis on us, on our strengths, on our weaknesses, challenges, gaps, on the trends for technology and how they're coming. You're going to see some slides about that. But more importantly, what of these future industries, these future plans, these green plans make sense for our region. And so that's what we're going to give you a summary. So I guess I would like to say we're going to go through it quickly. I'll go through, Joe will jump in. Certainly questions are welcome, and certainly individual follow-up if there's a piece of it that really grabs your attention and you'd like some more information or discussion with us. That's why we're here. So with that, I think we'll move through. Just before we change this slide, we're going to see a little map coming up next, and you see the numbers here. E-mobility, the overview, powertrain, fuel cell technology, charging infrastructure. You're going to see a few points on the map, but we think a map to start it with to show the big picture is good. So with that, Sean, I think we can go to the next slide, please. And so here, You know, e-mobility and economic development, you hear a lot about ecosystem and economic development ecosystem and automobility ecosystem and green ecosystem. This is kind of the big picture, you know, which is a fully integrated green industry, green smart city, smart county overview. And that includes the companies, yes, the transportation, the auto companies and the spin-offs. It includes the technology like cybersecurity and connected autonomous vehicles, but it also includes infrastructure, which is again one of the reasons really glad to be here today and letting you know, because there's some industry and company oriented things we can do, and also having that infrastructure to support it. So with that, we can go to the next slide, please. So the consultant's report said, look, we're looking at this whole e-mobility overview, and really what they said, there are, in this whole ecosystem, there are three main areas which Windsor-Essex as a region can excel. Either that's because of historical expertise, our location, proximity, our post-secondary institutions, and you know, having that amazing 12-to-1 location quotient, which says we have 12 times the amount of people working in advanced manufacturing and automobility and auto than average other regions. And the three ones jumping right into it: electric powertrain, fuel cell technology, and charging infrastructure. And again, across some of the mobility, some of the transportation modes, we can see at the top, you know, passenger car, commercial vehicles, stationary batteries, which are also, we can look at a little bit, logistics, agriculture, marine, trans, and eventually aviation. But certainly, again, the ratings, you know, where the market potential is high for us, the dark, they're indicated, and where there's not really a lot of potential, you see here that you have, you don't have any shading in there. So again, in our sweet spot, passenger cars, commercial vehicles, logistics, agriculture, and then the fuel cells even more, and charging infrastructure along the line. You can see this kind of matches up well with, you know, with what we know about our region and the infrastructure going forward. So the next couple slides are going to talk about each individual market to show you some market data, some projections, and explain the opportunity a little bit more. Okay, and this is one of the interesting things, because I know when people think, a lot of people, lay people anyway, are thinking, hey, electric vehicles, connected autonomous vehicles, they're thinking the battery operated vehicles. But one of the things that we realized is that as you come down the use cases on the left column into the heavier and larger applications, electric vehicles where the electricity is generated by fuel cell is actually, hydrogen fuel cell actually becomes more prevalent. And that's interesting for us for a number of reasons, because certainly we have that auto presence, we have OEMs here, the truck opportunities, bus, marine, you know, we have a large fueling station here in our port, Port Windsor, you know, Steve Salmon's organization. And eventually some of the ships are going to be powered by hydrogen. Why not expand our current infrastructure to prepare for the time when ships will be coming in and fueling up with hydrogen? We have the largest fuel station on the Great Lakes, according to Steve. So just an example. And again, what you'll see from us, we deal with the day-to-day, absolutely, but we always have an eye on the future. We always have to be planning ahead, because you can't wait for this stuff to happen. You'll miss out on the opportunities. And again, Joe, if there's anything, you can jump right in. So we'll go to the next slide, please. This is just a summary. I mean, I think everybody on this line from living and working in our region understands from the announcements from the OEMs that, you know, by 2030, by 2035, all of their product is going to be electric vehicle. And this is some of those projections, you know, growing at 11% And then you can see over here where they break it down, you know, the internal combustion engine in the light gray, look how that shrinks over time. And look how the battery electric and photoelectric and the hybrids keep increasing. And anybody who thinks that's not going to affect us, we have you know, the 2 Ford engine plant sites here. They're making ICE engines now. So we got to make sure that the transition, because they're, you know, at a certain moment, they're not going to make those anymore. And we have to make sure they're making electric powertrain, for example. Sean, we can go ahead. This is a slide I want to spend a little bit of time on, because I remember before I mentioned electric powertrain, fuel cell, and infrastructure. This is the full value chain of electric powertrain. So globally, you know, these are the different types of companies and industry that you can have to serve these value chain, or even almost supply chain companies. Materials, cell and battery production, electric components and semiconductors, system integrators, applications, battery recycling, and then the business to industry service providers. One of the things we did is we didn't just say, give us a strategy, give us some ideas. We hired them to say, who are the key companies in the supply chains in all of these components of the value chain? And these are real companies down below, and you can be sure we're going after them. And so, you know, I hope it's just Tecumseh people on the line today, because I don't want you know, to give our playbook to our competitive regions. But these are real companies, and we have a program in place. We are recruiting. So it has started. The future is here. We are recruiting the future of this industry. Now, I said these are all of the value chain components. The next slide, Sean. These are the 3 areas where Windsor-Essex has the opportunity as evaluated by P3 Group. Materials, cell and battery, and electric components and semiconductors. And then this is, you know, the reasons are here on the right. You've received this presentation in advance. These are the opportunities. So if we want to just go back, Sean, one slide. These 3, oh, I guess you can't see my mouse, only Sean's, but the first 3, materials, cell and battery, and electric components and semiconductors, these are companies that we will be going after, that we believe that our region has the business case and incentives, you know, provincially and federally, with our location, with our DNA, with the access to raw materials. And we are engaged with discussions with companies right now. And as I said, and we're a finalist for a very large project. So it's happening. And as I said, we're not gonna, you know, we're gonna continue, and it's proactive. We've got the first 50 companies that we're gonna recruit and pitch our region to in this materials, cell and battery, and electric components and semiconductors.
Steve, if I could too, as well, part of the strategy was as well to look at the new CUSMA treaty that was signed between Canada, Mexico, and the US. And one thing that's evident that by July of 2025, that in order for these EVs to be compliant for the content, the battery would need to be manufactured in North America, because it makes up such a big portion of the e-powertrain that if you're bringing it in from overseas, then you're not going to meet that compliance, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So that's been one of our strategies, really, to focus on the battery manufacturers to locate here. And our value proposition has been very positive, because we're in discussions with several companies, and one is going to be announced shortly with regards to lithium-ion batteries. With that said as well, the battery recycling part of it too, we didn't put it as a priority right now, but we have our eye on it because as these batteries come off the vehicle 8 to 9 to 10 years from now, something's going to have to be done with them, right? So, first will be second life batteries, as used them as for stationary units for storing power, but sooner or later you have to recycle them. And we're actually working with some startups right now to sort of begin to do research and development in that sector. And with regards to the materials part of it, Canada is the only country in the world that has all the necessary minerals to build a lithium-ion battery. But with that said, it has a very undeveloped mining for the production of the cathodes and anodes and electrolytes that actually need to go into the battery. So that to me is going to be a big sector, a big focus for us to establish it here, especially with the integrated rail systems that we have here in this region into the US market, and bringing the raw materials here and producing the cathodes and anodes that actually go into the cell in the battery. So anyways, so that's really been part of our strategy, just knowing that there's these gaps there and how we can fill these gaps and identifying the companies we believe that we have a possibility of attracting here. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
That's excellent, Joe. Thank you. And Sean, we can keep going there. And then we can go one more. So the next major area was fuel cell technology. And again, already started. Just before this call, Joe was on a call with our friends up at St. Clair College, because they're working on projects around hydrogen and working on that, as a matter of fact. So when we talk about the fuel cell, EVs and hydrogen, you'll hear out there hydrogen, and you go, oh, is that different than electric vehicle? No, it's electric vehicle, but the electricity is generated by the hydrogen and by that process. So again, what you'll see again on this slide, everyone, you'll see companies, right? It's not just, hey, you should get companies like this. We've got the companies identified. We've got the whole fuel cell system broken down. And then who does what? What companies do air filters, compressors, humidifiers, electric drivetrain? You can see it. And so fuel cell is certainly evolving. And again, there'll be some stationary uses as well. You're going to see that in a minute. But it is a technology which is coming. And one of the common themes you'll hear with our organization is, we have to be technology driven for economic development, and we have to have innovation driving it, or you're not going to be successful. Now, the good news is technology disruption and development usually creates new types of jobs. But the bad news is a lot of times it makes certain existing jobs redundant. And I know the example we use, I think it's, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, electric vehicle ICE motor has 2,000 parts, electric drivetrain has 20 parts, and electric vehicles will use only 40% of the labor that an ICE vehicle takes. So we're going to need the jobs created here. If the technology and the companies come in here and the supply chain comes in here, the jobs are here. If they go other places, Detroit, Hamilton, Toronto, Brampton, then the jobs create there, but the jobs that might become redundant, that still happens. And so you need to be a leader. And so we're always looking forward for
Steve,
that. And jump in, Joe.
If I just quick, it's actually 60%.
60%. Yeah.
It required 40% less labor to produce an EV vehicle. So, and just following up on this here, see, our strategy as well is just not to look at this and say, okay, well, we're just going to attract companies to fill these supply chain gaps. Our strategy is actually to, and we're working right now to set up seminars with our local companies to see what companies are doing very similar things, which companies can pivot to these new technologies, which companies can we align with universities and colleges, not just in Windsor, Essex, but throughout Ontario, that will help them gain those competencies. The second approach is to really look at joint ventures with companies from overseas and from the US to set up here in conjunction with these companies. And then obviously where we can't do any of that, we fill it with attracting pure FDI into the region. For example, the storage tanks, the HS2 tanks, we're working with Linamar right now to actually develop that technology as well. And they're looking at setting up a research and development facility to actually do that in conjunction with the university. We were just talking last week about that. So those are some of the things that we're doing to sort of make it a very holistic approach to this new technology.
No, that's an excellent point, Joe. It's not just about our business attraction activities. It's about making sure that our current companies, let's get them some help with audits. Let's let them, what other skills and capabilities are transferable to this new system. And then again, what joint venture partners might we introduce them to? So completely holistic. We can go to the next slide, Sean. Again, fuel cell technology, a little bit of data and a little bit of the background that details how it's going to come. You can see that for transportation by 2050, it's really growing. So if we're going to be in the automobility industry still, then we're going to have to, have fuel cell hydrogen technology, having the hydrogen produced here, having testing, having the equipment here. But as you can see, it's also, if you're producing hydrogen, it's used chemical feedstock, it's using the iron steel processes, refining, and others. So hydrogen, it's the future, but it's also today. Go ahead, Sean. And again, when we're talking about hydrogen, again, and Joe and I are not engineers, and I know there's a couple engineers on council, so no tricky questions, but we're talking green hydrogen, as opposed to hydrogen that's produced, with hydrocarbons and whatnot. We're talking renewable energy to produce the green hydrogen, because certainly one of the things about this strategy, and we were working on it even before it came out from the federal government, but the federal government's green initiative, where they're having a whole suite of programs coming out and incentives to incentivize the green economy, for example, for green industry to cut the federal tax rate in half. I mean, that is a darn good incentive, especially when in the US they're putting the corporate tax rate back up. So again, when we have more data for the engineers on the council, happy to follow up and provide more of the slides, more of the research. But certainly you can see, and again, the companies, it's not just a, hey, you should kind of do this. Like, we've got the roadmap as well as the strategy. We've got the implementation. We've got the companies targeted that we're going to actively recruit them. We're going to actively promote existing companies for potential joint ventures and cooperations, like Joe said. And again, in the fuel cell technology, the key areas for us: generation, distribution, and application. Sean, we can go ahead. The third major area that we're focusing on is the charging infrastructure and technology. And again, the full soup to nuts value chain is presented for you here. Hardware, installation, operation, electricity sales, IT and back end, and then mobility service providers. And again, for each area, there is again the products, the main things there, and then again, the companies identified. And we'll show you the focus for our strengths on this chain. Sean, you can go to the next one. Hardware, installation, operation. That is the key areas of that value chain, which match up well with our companies, with our experience, with our assets, and with our opportunities. And you can see on the right, strong localization of production, R&D. We've got the post-secondary institutions who are intricate part of our whole ecosystem. And we're going to show you some ideas. So, for our municipalities, for the county, for the city of Windsor, we have to be thinking, if electric vehicles are coming, so there's going to have to be charging infrastructure. maybe for commercial vehicles, maybe for pedestrian vehicles, if not now, in the future. So you know, Brian and his team and you know, are thinking as developments come in, as they're reviewing master plans, development lands, you know, we've got to be thinking about the infrastructure. If we're going to be recruiting these companies, we have to demonstrate that we're that we're walking the walk, as it were. So there's opportunity, but again, there's opportunities for industry, for the jobs, for the companies as well. It's win-win. Let's go to the next one. This is, we like this. This is a conceptual charging park, and it's conceptual, but I'm telling you, we're going to try to make this happen. And picture your service centers now along the 401, and you go in and there's some restaurants and things, and you can get gasoline or diesel, and away you go. Well, let's picture in a few years' time, we have a brand new bridge where we have a lot of commercial traffic coming across. We have an evolution towards e-vehicles and hydrogen vehicles, especially in the larger commercial vehicles. And they come across, and we have an energy park where we're producing green energy, wind turbine, fuel cell, gas turbine maybe for a while. We've got a PV plant, we've got charging points, we've got hydrogen fuel and the traditional fuel, and maybe this is on the 401 along some of the development, Tecumseh development lands, and maybe we build some hotels around it and some recreation. And again, like, and as I said, we've pitched this to the Gordie Howe International Bridge folks, because we said, look, you know, taxpayers are paying for the bridge, and how are we paying it back? Tolls. And how are we going to ensure they come to us and not one of the other competitive bridges that they can cross? Is if you have what they need when they come across. And so they're quite intrigued by the idea. It certainly wouldn't happen on the point of entries or anything, but this is an incredible opportunity that we're going to pursue. We're going to talk to the federal government. We're going to say, look, we've got a win-win here for you. Number one, you want the bridge used. Number two, you want the bridge used to leverage economic development. And number three, you've got a green agenda. Voila, you know, maybe we do this, we identify it, we recruit a public-private partnership, we recruit a user. Maybe it's Bridging North America that looks at this. So again, it's a really good example of infrastructure supporting industry growth. I really hope to make this a reality. Let's go to the next slide. So again, a bit of a conclusion, as we mentioned a couple times, we're looking forward. You can see some of the recycling and things, you know, don't come in till a little bit later, but electric powertrain, charging, and fuel cell are our focuses, because that's what makes sense, and that's what we can put a good, strong business case in front of these companies. And then the timeline. So electric powertrain, we're working on that right now, and charging, we're working on that. And fuel cell technology is a little far out, but like I said, Joe was on the call with some of our professors up at St. Clair College that have expertise in hydrogen. We've identified some professors at UW that have expertise in hydrogen. And in the same way, we have a renowned researcher like Dr. Narayan Carr on electric powertrain. We want to get a few in the fuel cell technology. So we have to invest now, we have to recruit now, we have to create curriculum now, because then we can go to companies and saying, you know, this is access to market, this is access to labor, this is access to supply chain, and then with our other, you know, the other things they consider, it will make us have a strong case. So I think we have one more slide, and two more. So this came from the research. We're doing it. We're doing it. We're recruiting companies. We have our investment attraction file has a number of leads. Some are very close to making a decision. If they do, it'll be very, very exciting, because it will give us that anchor that we need. But we're doing this. but also what's needed. There's some guidelines on there as well for municipalities and for our region. And I think we have one more. So I'm going to make my plug because I have the until Sean mutes me. But what do we need? One of the big things we need from all of our municipalities is shovel-ready sites. We're dealing with a lot of companies, and they do not want risk. Part of the site selection, it's really site elimination. It's kind of a misnamed thing when they're looking for site selection. They want as close to shovel ready as it is. There cannot be things in there that can trip up their plans. We're working, I mean, it's out there. I don't want to talk a lot about it. We're working with some very large battery manufacturers right now. Very, very large investment in the billions, right? They're not going to go to a site that hasn't had its environmental done, that might need an archaeological assessment. That's not, you know, on the market. That's you know, that we don't know where the utility, like they're not going to go there. They're investing billions of dollars. They have signed contracts. They have to be delivering batteries by mid 2023, which means the plant has to be built. I mean, they're not going where it's not ready. And so, but it's always with municipalities. And again, you have to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. And I know you represent your citizens. And sometimes it's difficult to put money aside for for capital projects and infrastructure, but there's some incredibly good sites available in Tecumseh, but it's got to be ready, and we've got to be talking to the owners and like I said, identifying the utilities and knowing what the capacity is and knowing if we, you know, where's the substation has to come from, because these companies, we are going to recruit heavily. We're going to recruit the big anchors, and we're going to recruit supply chain companies, and you know what else we're short on? Spec buildings, right? There was an announcement in the paper today. One of our companies, Harbor Technologies, is expanding to Chatham-Kent, and that's very good for Chatham-Kent. But our understanding is they did an exhaustive search within our region for a building that met their needs, and we didn't have one. So I know municipalities don't have spec buildings, but if you're talking to developers, you know, there is sort of a sweet spot, you know, that 50,000 size, you know, there is definitely a demand for that. So again, just, you know, we're excited. We know this strategy makes sense. Our initial interactions with companies are very positive. Our case is being validated. And like I said, we all need to do our part, the municipalities, the universities, the companies, the government. And I'm happy to say it's coming together. I'm happy to say we have buy-in from there. I'm happy to say that we have an application into FedDev to support this industry and the automobility, and they've received it very well. The final decision hasn't been made, but you know, our presentation, the research, what we based our proposal on, indicating the sustainability, they're very happy with. So we're plowing ahead. I could use 3-4 more people and keep them busy, honestly. But we have a terrific team. We're going to go after it, and we're going to go make sure we help our existing companies, and we're going to make sure we foster entrepreneurship here. And as I said, you know, my wish would be to appear at your meeting every 2 weeks, talking about a different company coming to Tecumseh. That would be really great. That's a goal I'm going to strive for. So with that, would be very happy, Joe and I, to answer questions on any other research, anything at all. We're at your service.
All right, thank you very much, Stephen and Joe, on certainly the presentation. So I'll line up for questions. I see Andrew's got his hand up. We'll start with the we'll start with the two engineers and we'll work our way down from
Oh,
there.
no. Oh, I thought we might run out of time before the engineers get us, but no, I'm teasing. Good to see you, Councillor Dowie. How are you?
Yeah, well, and thank you so much for being here and for quite some exciting developments and quite a great vision for how we can help to service the international community right here through this type of infrastructure. And so really, I'll focus my question more so on Tecumseh's role. So we have invested historically in servicing some of our areas such as Oldcastle and bringing the resources down in that neck of the woods. Right now, I guess as a policymaker, I'd love to know what if you could identify something that we lack in order to be there at the at the ground level to really get our sites ready, because we have invested quite a bit so far. But if what have we not invested in, and really maybe you can have a thorough understanding of that.
Sure. Tecumseh's done a good job, and as I said, one of Tecumseh is really interesting. You have urban and industrial area, and you have some more rural area. You're kind of a unique microcosm of our region. I think the investment in Oldcastle, I think has been a success. The growth there has been phenomenal. The machine tool die mold cluster that you have. One of the key things that we're going to be working towards is making sure that companies, for example, in that industry, do the audit and say, hey, does electric vehicle change what we're doing? Well, they're still going to need a mold for the bumper, for example. Okay, we know we're going to be doing molds. What else can we do? What are the other parts? What I would say, and again, excellent track record with the companies, excellent support of companies, competitive tax rates for commercial is very positive. I would say, to the extent that with the developable properties that could target some of this larger investment, industrial park, I would say that's the one thing that I see. And again, it's I can't promise, we'll fill this many square feet, hundreds of thousands of square feet, but I know who we're going after. I know what it's going to be. And when we get them here, there has to be, if there was a site that said, look, all the zoning is in place. Here's the map of the utilities. Here's the capacity. The broadband is in. The road is in. Or here's the plan to put the road in as soon as there's a tenant. That's what we really need to sell it. And again, there's some large development sites in Tecumseh, and we have presented them to clients. And again, and some of the pluses and the feedback we get back is, oh my gosh, look how close to the highway and infrastructure. But some of the other ones are, oh well, where would this, is it served? Wait, how many owners are there? So let's just make sure that our assets and our inventory are up to date. If there's privately owned land, talk to the owners and look, is it for sale? And what's the price, so that we can present it. I will not present a property to anybody that says, oh, well, just have them call me, we can work. No, that's not how it works. We're dealing with a company that's looking to invest $3.5 billion. I need a price and I need it locked in for this amount of time, or, I'm just using that as an example. So that's a very long answer, Andrew, I'm sorry, but, be ready, know the assets. Tecumseh has an excellent case. Let's make sure that we make it easy for companies to land.
Steve, if I could as well just add to that, as part of business attraction, there's a whole range of companies that we're going to be going after, right? Some of them will require 200 megawatts of power. Others will require 1 megawatt of power. So to my eyes, I think, for example, at one of the properties that we're looking out in Oldcastle is really identifying what are the capacities out there currently, right? I mean, we got to start with that. What's available in excess for electricity, for gas, for for water, for wastewater, right? Because those are important things. So from that point, then you can identify what are the future plans for those lands, right? And are we bringing more water? Are we bringing more wastewater control? Are we bringing more electricity to that area, et cetera? So, because to me, I mean, there is, if you look at, if you had like 25 acres, I mean, you could put 5, 6 companies on that land, right? Now, the key is, how do you convince somebody that has land that's under agriculture to convert it over to industrial, right? Because obviously industrial land pays a higher tax base than agriculture, right? I know some communities, what they've done is they've actually kept the land at the agriculture rate to encourage the landowner to develop that land. And only when they actually lease out a building or on that facility do the rates go to that, right? So there's innovative ways of doing that. So to my eyes, I think it becomes very important to sort of identify what is the excess capacity out there. Are the lands industrial? Are the services there? And then from there, it gives us a tool to be able to allocate companies that come here. If it's a company that's going to require 200 megawatts of power and there's not 200 megawatts of power out there, then obviously we're not going to go to that. But if there's a company that requires a half a megawatt of power and all the other services are there, then you can do that, right? But still, converting from agriculture to industrial and then archaeological studies, environmental studies, all that, it becomes complicated, especially if there's land that's shovel ready somewhere else in Windsor, Essex.
Yeah, and we've been, as we work with a potential site, we're trying to fill in this information. We had meetings previously with administration. We said, look, we will work on this, but to the extent that, there's the master plan and stuff for the city and where you want development, we gladly help identify some of these things. Essex Power, the folks are great. Mayor McNamara introduced us to them, and they helped us with a whole number of things. So we just have to work together. We will keep working on it. And say certain things will be coming to council. That's one of the reasons we want to give the presentation. And, I wouldn't want in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, bring a project and that's, well, why are they bringing that type of project here? And say, oh, wait a minute, it's part of the strategy. So again, appreciate the opportunity to be here to go over that. So that's really long, Andrew. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Good.
I just want to add to Andrew's point as well. And I think the thing that we have to keep in mind and understand as well is that there are things that we want to bring into the community and that are bigger than us, bigger than the region. It takes intervention from the federal and provincial government. Mm-hmm. A good example of that is you look at, I think, Joe, you mentioned 200 megawatts of power. Mm-hmm. In the TS station in the real world, it costs $1 million+ a megawatt. Yeah. And so that's 200 million investment for a region, Windsor or Tecumseh or the rest. That's beyond our scope. Yeah. in the reality. But usually those big OEMs, I call them the one in a generation project that come into the communities. It must, a lot of those big infrastructure pieces are from the upper levels of government. Mm-hmm. In order for us to support that. I mean, the private sector, like, you talk about gas companies and so forth. If the load is at a certain amount that, when say Enbridge will say, oh, yeah, okay, you're going to use how many cubic meters of gas, for example. Then they'll say, you know what, we'll put the pipeline in, and we'll fund that somehow, because that utility harmonizes the cost of pipelines across their whole network and so forth. So we have to be cognizant of that in terms of those big, huge projects. We're fortunate here in Tecumseh. Our CAO was very instrumental in the Woodstock Toyota plant. Which is, one in a generation plant, as because her background is in planning and had a successful run with the Oxford County and certainly the city of Woodstock. So she has the experience, and it wasn't just Oxford County or Woodstock that it took the province and certainly the federal government to certainly intervene, you know, in that regard. So I wanted to you know, to make that clear, but so
Two
it's
quick
kind of
points to that. 2 quick points. We definitely plan. It's our goal to keep Mark very, very, very busy. And,
well,
and
don't keep her
secondly,
too busy, because she's busy
oh, no,
right
you opened the
now.
door, Gary. You opened the door.
Oh, I know.
But no, I'm teasing.
Certainly.
I'm teasing. No, that experience would be terrific. And to your point, the federal government and provincial government have been very responsive. I'm very happy to report, as we're dealing with some large projects with large capital needs, and very, very happy with the way they've engaged with the clients, from the ministers through the department folks. So happy to report that those lines of communication and the cooperation are there. So just wanted to make that.
Yeah. Councillor Altenhoff, you know, I do have a couple of other questions or comments, but I'll defer to yourself.
Thank you, Worship. And gentlemen, thank you very much for your presentation. We know electric vehicles are here. I mean, you've probably seen in some, you know, announcements today, some of the incredible things that are going on with some auto manufacturers on some vehicles where, you know, 5 years ago, we would never expect them to be electrified. And lo and behold, look what we're doing some of our truck. So it's really incredible how things have really evolved in a very short period of time. And I really see this as you're coming across as wanting to be this catalyst that can accelerate, if you will, these relationships between these companies and, you know, we have in the municipality, what we have in these other, you know, in our area. So please keep that up. I know, I'm sure administration's taking notes galore, and I'm sure they indicated, you know, we want this. I think we really see this as a benefit for our area, because we know it's going to help with jobs. We know it's going to help with the economy. And then ultimately it's an incredible thing for everyone, because we know that this is going to be the future. I'd also kind of motivate you, or suggest as a challenge, if you will, to look at some of the existing manufacturing that we have here. You know, it's world-class, probably on the top of the world, to be honest with you. It's incredible. But I would suggest, you know, let's learn from what we have in the past, and let's have them adapting now for these technologies that are coming. I mean, they're here. So I'm sure they are. But if we can perhaps provide them stronger motivation for that, you know, that's going to, again, accelerate relationships, so that when things are here, we're proactively ready, and boom, we've got answers, and we can give them what they need now, right away, not 2 weeks, not 2 months, not in the future. So I think adapting is very, very critical. From the university side, I just wanted to, I can comment that I know the current dean, as well as our new dean, who's going to be coming in later this year. I think they've certainly articulated a very strong commitment to these technologies. You know that, and I can tell you, I can start rambling off a number of the names of faculty members that work on everything from materials to manufacturing to the electrification to the IC to the hydrogen, the fuel cells. You know, there's incredible opportunities. So again, I encourage you to please act as that catalyst. And also be thinking, you know, another aspect that a lot of people are not aware of, you know, with the electrification of all these vehicles, we have to look at vehicles a little bit differently, because now, instead of crashworthiness of IC engines, now we have to worry about crashworthiness of fuel cells or batteries and all these other things. So these are somewhat established research, but have to morph, if you will, change for these new technologies. And again, if we can be proactive and have everything ready for that, I think it's ultimately going to benefit everyone. So please, encourage you, keep up with this role as acting as that catalyst, and accelerate things for ultimately the benefit of our region. And thank you.
And Professor, you know, I'll tell you, the university, for a a large institution really moving fast and like has really bought in, from President Gordon, Michael Hsu, Heather Pratt's team. We have the Shield, but when we back up a little bit, electric vehicles are part of what we call the CASE umbrella, Connected, Autonomous, Cybersecurity, and EV. And we've talked a lot about EV, but the university has now the Shield Cybersecurity Center, and they're helping us attract companies in and there. And we don't see each other in the halls of the engineering building anymore because we moved downtown, but I know that there's millions of dollars of renovations to the labs to accommodate this. And Joe's been in touch with some of your colleagues, some of the professors, and also what I'm really happy to report is the collaboration with St. Clair College, which we all want, which, there's signed agreements, there's articulation agreements, has been phenomenal. And it makes a difference when we're pitching to companies, when we're setting up meetings with a company and you've got the reps of your post-secondary and they're telling what they're doing and what they can do for training. It's incredible. So, and again, I haven't met the new dean yet, but Rob Gordon promised me that he wouldn't hire someone that didn't agree with this strategy. So I'm going to hold him to his word.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a fair. But even the training, you hit it. You hit really one critical point. The training of the next, I don't want to call them next generation of engineers, but the future engineers, on these concepts. I mean, it's here. It's something that Windsor can do, and please, I know you've mentioned a number of the administration, but right from the municipality to the academic system, across the board, we have all these beautiful puzzle pieces that can really make this a big thing for our area. Please be that catalyst, put everything together, and it's going to be very wonderful for our area. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Steve, if I could just quickly add to that, actually, there's going to be an announcement shortly that's ongoing right now with the University of Windsor and the college and Ontario Tech University and McMaster for one of the companies that's looking to locate.
I just remind you, Joe, this is being taped and it's live. So don't.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm not gonna mention the company. So, but anyways, the university's been amazing. They've mapped out all the professors that as you were saying, materials, chemical, all that. Ophelia and Professor Ophelia and hydrogen and that. So it's been a great cooperation, and we realized that we need to do this. And now we're actually looking through some funding through the government to actually hire somebody specialized in the chemical, material, and storage of the battery, and begin to work on the next generation of solid state batteries, because we need to be in that area as well. So to your point, it's exactly what needs to be happening, and we're pushing hard for that.
I mentioned the FedDev application to follow up on the one we received for We Diversify, and post-secondary heavily involved. It's been well received. We're just waiting for the answer, and it is going to really boost and build capacity at both institutions. I'm really, and we should hear from that really shortly. So.
Okay, any further questions to the group? Just a couple of comments myself, and I remember meeting with a roundtable discussion with the federal government. It was the Associate Minister of Finance and through IRIC and others, and the CEO of Bridge North America was sitting at the table. And one of the things that he was asking, even for the federal government as well, is on the bridge, is to make sure that if we're going to have autonomous vehicles, that we have the technology to get it across the bridge and so forth. So I don't know if there was any follow-up or anything of that nature, as they build this bridge, but it would be an absolute shame that at the opening of the bridge itself, they wouldn't have that in play. The other is I think a critical piece that we need to do if we're going to get, if we're going to add a new cluster of green energy type companies within our region, the infrastructure to be able to adapt that. Broadband's critical. You know, our highways have to have it, our main roads. I mean, if we're going to build or design or any type of autonomous vehicles and the technology being developed at the college or university, I think it's critical that the infrastructure is there. You can't say, well, we can build it, but we can't test it in the area. And what that's going to take is I think a fair amount of work. And for you know, the Development Commission and all of our planners and in our communities have to, I think, have a bit more communication in terms of, you know, as we continue to plan our communities, it's going to be critical. Totally agree with the comment you had made before. This is something that I've been saying for the past 20 years, since 2003, is assembly of land and in partnership with the region. You know, if you know, I hate to say it, if the politicians would stop thinking politics or worrying about their backyard and looked at the big picture, we'd be able to compete with our friends in Alabama and Mississippi and the rest. Because that's exactly what they're doing in that area. It's not reinventing the wheel by no means. When you put 5,000 or 6,000 acres of land together and it's service, it's ready to go. And yes, the governor has the checkbook in his pocket at the end to kind of seal the deal. But if you've got property and the infrastructure is in play, then, you know, you're at an advantage right off the bat, because those companies, the big ones, they want to be in production 18 to 24 months. They want to recoup their money and you know, get into production. And so we have so much advantages here because of our education, our centers of excellence. Per capita, we have some of the largest per capita engineers in anywhere. We have a center of excellence. You know, our manufacturing is state of the art. Our agri business, which is also advanced manufacturing, some of the best in North America. We've got the highways, we've got the seaports, we've got the rail, we've got, you know, and we're central. We've got everything except the biggest piece is the land and so forth. We could take a page of the Kitchener-Waterloo region when they decided to, with all of the lower tier within the region, they put a 10-year plan in place to raise $100 million. And they did that. And guess what? They're kind of the center of these guys right here. And with the University of Waterloo and built quite a, you know, a system. So that's, it takes political will, and they did it on their dime. That's the thing. And once it was there, it was achievable. So it's kind of, you know, putting money in the piggy bank, so to speak, and start doing it now. But what happens is that a certain segment in the region, they go out and you try to attract, you know, investment into the region, and then we're piecemealing everything to get to the point where we're ready to go. And I find we haven't learned from other regions that you have to put a little bit of effort, a little bit of money, and build it at the front end, so that you know, when you're coming in with investors or people that want to do business in the area, you've really got something to showcase, right? And another shining example, and probably, and I would, Deputy Mayor Bichetti, when we went to in Columbus, Ohio, Dublin, with Sutphin, and David Sutphin was a counselor there. They have a family business and they build fire engines. They have done that for generations, over 120 years. It was the county and the city of Columbus. The county couldn't compete with the city. And so what they did is, back then, that would have been now 20 years, 25 years ago, They took $80 million. They banked it, they bankrolled 80 million. I'm not saying that we need to do that here. And then they took and built an industrial park. Next thing you know, Wendy International came in, and a whole bunch of corporate entities, because they liked it. Taxes were low, close to the big center. And so in David's analogy was, if you build it, they will come. And they did. And within 18 months, they filled the park. And so, again, it's not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's just basically, taking some lessons and best practices from other regions and so forth, because we do have a lot to offer in our region. So I certainly commend the work that you're doing and being on the hustings and trying to bring, big investment into the area, but somehow we have to get everybody together and stop putting blinders and saying, no, I don't want to share it with this community or that and so forth. We got to look at the big picture. And
we certainly present, the regional assets. That's our role. We're, our core funding is.
No, I'm not saying you guys. I'm saying.
No, I just say you have,
political work.
we champion the region and the assets, and that's a role. We're consensus builders, and I think as I said, together, it's a pleasure. I said, Joe and I, our product is a piece of geography. It's a place, and as you know, some places, are less desirable than others, but it's a pleasure to represent. It's a pleasure to go internationally and present our product and the assets and the people and the support of government. Like it's, as I said, I couldn't sell something I don't believe in. I couldn't do it. And it's good. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege to sell our region. And any other questions or comments? And again, I'll remind folks, more information, specific questions, more data, just contact us. We're happy to answer questions and provide any of that. You don't need to wait for a meeting or a delegation. I mean, just give us a call, and hopefully we can meet in person in the next couple of months as well. So, yeah.
And just quickly, Marge, we should probably connect as well, because I've been speaking to Santa Rosa about that property there in Old Castle. And I think, there could be an opportunity for there to be some type of movement on that. So yeah, we should maybe get together.
We've been collecting data, as per our previous strategy meeting. We've been out collecting some of the data, but communication is the key, and keeping each other up to date.
Yeah, all the pipelines are right there.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good. Happy to do that. I believe Councillor Dowie had his hand up near.
Where is he? Oh, he's on the opposite side now.
Yeah, he's moving
Okay.
around.
Go ahead, Councillor Dowie.
Oh, thank you, Worship. And just, you know what, I don't, we need to bring it up too much. I'm very interested in the charging park. So maybe I'll give you a shout after the meeting to be more informed about that, because it sounds pretty exciting.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, happy to do that. And and again, we'll tell you more about that consultant that we use. I think you'll find it pretty impressive.
Well, that sounds great. I think it sees the pipeline, there's a lot of opportunities, and, whatever we can do, we're there. And we've always said that it's a regional approach. Wherever we can do it within our region, it benefits, everyone. And there's no question. And so, yeah, and keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Council, and to the team members, I say, working with your team and Marg and her team. It's terrific. So we really appreciate that. And as I said, we all play our role. We are formidable. We are world class. We really are. It's not a braggadocious. It's a fact. You look at our companies, you look at our opportunities. So, but if we're not coordinated, then it's less so. So again, appreciate the support. Happy to come back anytime. We can talk about other industry sectors. you know, the strategic, overall strategic plan, you know, we're at your service. So anytime you'd like us to come for presentations, just let us know.
That's great. I mean, contact, you know, work with Margaret and our staff. We've got a great staff here, hardworking folks that, you know, their phone line is ready to accept calls. So.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much. And thanks for, I know it's a special meeting and appreciate the opportunity. You know, we could squeeze it into an hour, but we definitely couldn't squeeze it into 10 minutes. So
No,
taking the time.
no, that's good. No, we certainly appreciate it. And at some point in time, Joe, I'm gonna know and be able to pronounce your full name without hesitation. I'm gonna work on it.
All good.
All
All
right.
right.
Take care.
Take care,
Have a
gentlemen.
great
Thank you,
evening.
everybody. Have a
Bye.
pleasant evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, okay, you want the presentation, if I could have a motion to receive the report as presented. Deputy Mayor Becchetti, Council Tonio, all in favor? Oppose if any, that's carried. There's no communication, and so adjournment's in order. Councilor Altenhoff and Councilor Houston, all in favor? Oppose if any, that's carried. And I believe we have to sign off, and then we have another